Toy Polloi, a shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a toy restorer who does not exist. Toy Polloi, a young loner on a crusade to champion the cause of the broken, the helpless, the powerless, in a world of collectors who operate above the law.
Welcome to Toy Polloi. Pocket Money Memories.
Hello and welcome to another video from Toy Polloi. Now, we all have memories of toys that we had to save up our pocket money for, and I've asked some friends and followers of Toy Polloi to submit some of their childhood stories about saving up pocket money to buy a specific toy that they wanted in their collection. So let's take a look at some pocket money memories.
This Action Force AF7 early Action Force by Polloi, Action Man, Action Force as you might say. AF7 raft diver's boat, complete with a pipe for the deep sea diver, and he would kind of go underneath it. And I used to take this swimming with me when I was learning to swim. I was 4 or 5, I don't know, and I wouldn't go in the pool without it. And I used to put, I think it was Admiral Akbar and possibly Captain Kirk or Scotty from Star Trek the motion picture as the pilots, and I lost one of them in the pool. But this boat here, I remember having to save up towards this. It was towards it, I couldn't afford it. But my dad did collect a lot of the early Action Force stuff, and I did love it, and then moved on to G.I. Joe, and so on. So most of my toys were birthdays and Christmas and that, but there was a few where I had to save up. I think G.I. Joe, Leatherneck and Mainframe, 2 figures that I'd saved up so long for because my parents wouldn't buy them for me because G.I. Joe was too expensive. They would buy me Lanard's The Core in a pack of 6 or 10 for the same price, but they would not buy me G.I. Joe, so I had to save up for I got Leatherneck, Snake Eyes and Mainframe, and I've still got Mainframe's briefcase, but that's it. They got played with a lot.
Growing up in the 80s, I was obviously a big fan of science fiction and comic book heroes. Star Wars being my favourite, and Batman, favourite of the comic book heroes. I had lots of toys, lots of figures, but one of the figures that sticks out in my mind the most is my Secret Wars Spider-Man. I got this figure for my birthday one year and absolutely loved it and wanted to take it everywhere with me. So one day I put it in my coat pocket and took it out while I was doing my local paper round. When I got home, I was absolutely gutted to find out that I had lost him. He dropped out of my pocket, couldn't find him anywhere. Retraced my steps, couldn't find it. And the only way to get a replacement was to save up and buy a new one. So I saved all the money from my paper round and my pocket money, and eventually managed to buy another one. And this is the figure that I bought. And he's one of my most favourite figures, not because he's valuable or anything like that, but just because of the story that I have of losing him and finding him again. But other than that, I've got loads of Batman figures and got loads of Star Wars, but this one always holds a place dear to me.
This is my original 1985 Optimus Prime, which was bought for me by my mum for my birthday. Now, I didn't collect Transformers at the time, I was more into He-Man, so this was a bit of a surprise when she got me this, but I really fell in love with the toy. You know, it has so many features and little gimmicks. But I'd only had it for a short while, and I decided what I really must have is another Transformers car to go in the back trailer, so I could shoot it in and out. But I didn't have much in the way of money. My pocket money then was around about £1 a week, I think, and most of that would have gone on sweets because I was a bit of a chubby kid. But what I did have is my trusty He-Man money bank. Now, I didn't like spending coppers, so this was full to the brim with 2 and 1p coins and maybe a few 5p coins. So I emptied it out, counted it all up, and it must have come to about just over £2. So I thought I couldn't afford a Jazz or a Prowl because they were in the £6.50 mark. But I thought I could afford one of the smaller cars, one of the Transformers on a blister. So I convinced my brother to go with me as moral support, and we walked up to Tettenham Corner on Epsom Downs to Masters of Epsom, which is my childhood toy shop, and it's been in business for 40 to 50 years, run by a lovely chap called Jeff Masters. So my brother and I went in there and picked up Windcharger. Now, for some reason when I look at this, I have the figure at £2.25 in my head. I mean, it's been 33 years, so how I remember that price, I don't know, but £2.25 sticks. And I remember picking him up, taking, very nervously up to the counter with my bag of money and saying, oh, look, I'm really sorry, but I've got all these coppers. Could I still buy this transformer? And God bless him, Jeff Masters, he was so sweet. He didn't pull a face, he didn't frown. He just said, yeah, okay, let's count them out. So he sat with me, and there were other customers waiting and everything, and he counted out all the money, and it came to just about £2.25. It might even been a tiny bit more. And without so much of a complaint, he just put all the money into his till, and off I went. And this is my original wind charger from the time, and then I got him home, and of course what I really love to do was to have him in the back of the truck and have him roll out.
In the 80s, I got hooked on the A-Team. I couldn't wait for Saturday to come along and watch the latest episode of the A-Team and see what the guys managed to get up to and what scrapes they managed to get out of. And so I remember clearly saving up my pocket money for a few weeks because I'd seen that they were sort of selling A-Team figures in the local Woolworths. And so I saved up my money. One weekend I went down there and I bought myself Murdoch. Now Murdoch was the sort of character that I liked the most in the A-Team. I think just because he's so strange and had sort of lots of funny lines. Now these figures I remember being quite expensive, like more expensive than things like the Star Wars figures. So it took me a good few weeks to save up the pocket money to buy this. I absolutely loved it because not only did you get the figure, but you got a lot of weapons and sort of grappling hooks and things like that in this little sort of pouch here. So I played with him for absolutely ages. He was the only A-Team figure I ever had, so he got to play with it on his own. There were no people for him to battle. It was just Murdoch sort of getting into scrapes in my parents' garden. And then later in his life, when I got interested in Ghostbusters, I turned him into Peter Venkman. I made him a little jacket and a backpack, and he did sort of a perfect sort of role as being a Ghostbuster. So he had a double life. Not only was he in the A-Team, he was also in Ghostbusters.
My pocket money memory is basically picking up this Power of the Force 2, or Power of the Force 1, wherever you look at it, Darth Vader on card. Back in 1995, when I first started collecting these, I was a young boy and I always wanted to have a complete collection of Star Wars toys. And at the time, the only thing you could buy was terrible things called Bendums, which looked like this. Pretty appalling, made of rubber and not much play value at all. When the Power of the Force line was released in 1995, I remember getting the whole wave of the first series, which included Luke in X-Wing gear, Chewbacca, Boba Fett and Han Solo. But this is the one I wanted the most. Now, a bit of a funny story is originally, back in 1978, when they originally released the vintage line, my nan tells me a story about a time she took my uncle everywhere to try and find Vader. Well, nearly more than 10 years, say 16, 17 years later, she was taking me, her grandson, to try and find a Vader, and we eventually found one in Tesco. Vader was really hard to find originally. This is one with a very long lightsaber, what appears to be a tri-logo card. These were picked up in Tesco. I can remember saving my pennies and put my pocket money towards it, and my nan eventually paying the rest for me, which was very lovely. I have this. This is not my original one. This is one I picked up recently. My original one does still exist, just packed away in a loft somewhere.
Bit of an awkward one for me to answer personally, because I never really got pocket money in the 70s as a kid. If I wanted something, I had to ask my mum and dad, and it wasn't until I was about 10 years old that I had a paper round and I was able to buy my own toys. Up until then, to be honest, they were pretty cool if I wanted it and I asked nicely and I behaved on the big shop and didn't create mayhem, and they would pretty much buy me whatever I liked, as long as it was an action figure, nothing too expensive obviously. But they did have a stipulation that whatever they bought me, it had to be Star Wars. So like the thing I'm going to show you now, if I wanted this kind of thing I had to buy it myself, and I didn't get this until actually I had my own money a little bit older. But I love him. I think it's a fantastic figure. He's full of character. It's a fantastic design. I can't say the film's one of my favourites, but I just think it just sort of speaks to you when you look at it. I mean, and it's just fantastic. I mean, every part of it is just full of little crazy ideas. And this one, I bought this with my own pocket money. He's been down the backs of settees. He was lost for years. He's been buried in the gardens of all the various places we lived. He was taken on beaches and all sorts of things. He was paired up with other Star Wars figures and sent off on crazy adventures. But he was completely broken up in bits when I last played with it, and I lost him and then refound him recently. I've got repro stand and repro guns and a repro sticker, which I'm sure some of you will be frowning at, but I love him. He's not going anywhere now. He's proudly sat up on my shelf, and I wouldn't swap him or sell him for anything in the world.
So thanks to everyone who submitted videos for this first episode of Pocket Money Memories. If you'd like to appear in the next episode, then drop me a line via the email address in my banner or contact me on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Toy Polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow Toy Polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.